Under the dazzling lights of Geneva's Grand Conference Hall, the world's most powerful voices gathered to discuss Africa's role in the 21st century economy. For decades, such forums had been dominated by Western perspectives, men in suits deciding the fate of a continent they barely understood. This time, however, something was different. Among the polished diplomats and seasoned politicians stood Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader of Burkina Faso. Many assumed he would simply listen, nod politely, and accept the Western narrative. Few expected his presence to alter the rhythm of the entire event. Donald Trump took the stage first. His entrance was as dramatic as ever, filled with confidence and authority. Cameras flashed as he approached the podium, his voice booming across the hall. "Africa needs us," he declared. "Without American innovation, without Western stability, Africa cannot survive." His words drew approving nods from many in the audience. It was a familiar line, one that echoed centuries of paternalistic rhetoric. Africa, in this telling, was a child dependent on Western guidance. But Trrower did not flinch. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the loud applause Trump's statement initially received. He waited for his moment, eyes fixed on the audience as if measuring their readiness for a truth long silenced. When his turn arrived, he walked to the podium with deliberate steps, his military uniform a striking contrast against the dark business suits surrounding him. The hall grew quiet. For a long second, he simply looked around. Then, locking his gaze on Trump, he spoke, "No, Mr. Trump. You are mistaken. It is not Africa that needs America. It is America that needs Africa." The words landed like thunder. Gasps rippled through the room. Journalists froze mid-sentence. Even the clicking of cameras seemed to pause. It was as if the air itself had shifted, heavy with the weight of unspoken history. Trrower pressed on. "For centuries, Africa has fueled your progress. Our gold built your banks. Our diamonds adorned your crowns. Our oil and cocoa, our uranium and cobalt powered your industries. And yet, you claim we cannot live without you? It is the opposite. It has always been the opposite." He reminded the audience of the Congo's rubber, harvested in blood to feed European demand, of Nigeria's oil, flowing outward while its people remained in poverty, of uranium from Burkina Faso, extracted to power European cities while African villages lived in darkness. The faces of Western leaders shifted uneasily. Some avoided his gaze, others shuffled in their seats. Trump frowned, unused to being directly confronted on such a stage. But Trrower was not simply there to accuse. His voice grew steadier, filled with vision. The time of silence is over. Africa is young, vibrant, and determined. We are no longer the passive subjects of foreign lectures. We are the authors of our own story. We will not beg. We will not kneel. We will rise. He described a continent in motion, alliances between African states, youth rejecting corruption, local innovators creating solutions without dependency on Western aid. He spoke of a future where African cities could rival Washington, Paris, or London in influence, where Africa's markets dictated the pace of global trade rather than merely supplying its raw materials. The audience remained transfixed. Western journalists, expecting bland remarks, now scribbled furiously. African delegations sat taller, emboldened by his courage. Some cameras zoomed in on Trump's expression, his smile gone, replaced by a mixture of irritation and unease. Trrower leaned closer to the microphone. "You say Africa needs America, yet it is your industries that depend on Africa's cobalt for your phones, your electric cars, your so-called green revolution. Without Africa, your future collapses. Without Africa, your promises to your children mean nothing." Each sentence struck like a hammer. The hall was still, almost reverent, as if witnessing the rewriting of a narrative centuries old. This was not the voice of a submissive leader. It was the voice of a continent reclaiming its dignity. As he approached the end of his speech, Trrower softened his tone without losing strength. "We do not seek charity. We demand respect. The era of domination is finished. From today forward, Africa will stand as a partner, not as a possession. The world must adjust or be left behind." Silence lingered, heavy and profound. No immediate applause erupted, as people processed the magnitude of his words. Then, slowly, a ripple of clapping began, first from African delegations, then from unexpected corners of the hall. Within moments, it swelled into thunderous applause, echoing off the marble walls. Some Western representatives joined reluctantly, compelled by the honesty of what they had heard. Trump remained seated, arms folded, lips pressed into a thin line. His silence spoke louder than words. For once, he had no retort. By the end of the conference, social media was ablaze. Clips of Traoré's speech spread like wildfire. Hashtags trended across continents. Hashtag Africa Rising. Hashtag No You Need Africa. Millions watched the footage with awe, many calling it the moment. Africa's voice finally broke through centuries of noise. In Ouagadougou, celebrations erupted. Youth saw in Trrower not just a politician, but a symbol of defiance, proof that Africa no longer needed to bow its head. Analysts in Washington debated nervously. Could Africa truly shift the balance of global power? Could one speech ignite a movement that rewrote the world order? For some, the question was frightening. For others, it was exhilarating. And so the world was left to wonder. Perhaps the future was not in Washington or Brussels after all. Perhaps, just perhaps, the tremors of tomorrow were already rising from the red soil of Ouagadougou.